Intel went and did it. They did the worst possible thing you can do when you're in a war, or at least something that looks like it's becoming a war. They acknowledged the mosquito. You never acknowledge the mosquito. As someone like me who doesn't say things that always jive with what people watching the video agree with, the one thing you never do is acknowledge the mosquito. And Intel did it. I know there's a bunch of you that are confused and wondering what the heck I'm talking about with a mosquito. I'm going to make it incredibly clear what I'm talking about, and I think you're going to have to agree. Whether you're a fan of Intel, Apple, or whatever the case may be, Intel just acknowledged the mosquito. I think that was a mistake, and I'll tell you why. Right after this!
This is, you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back, and for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis, and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing them. If that sounds like fun to you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Anything I talk about will be in the description below, but for now, let's just get into the video. So much like Microsoft in their recent commercials about their Surface Pro, Intel is now acknowledging that Apple has a kind of fire product. And what we're talking about are the M1 series of Macs, the MacBook, the Mac Mini, and of course the upcoming Mac series that's going to have the M1X. Here's the thing. I said this last year in a video when the M1 series of processors was first announced. This is a big deal to the industry, and I said the industry, especially for AMD and Intel. And the biggest point that I made was that this is going to push the industry forward and that it's really good and that they caught Intel with their pants down. Now, a lot of people in the comment section didn't agree with me at the time, but this is kind of proof positive because you never acknowledge the mosquito. Let me explain what that means. When's the last time you got bit by a mosquito? Do you remember? I mean, I personally do not remember the last time I got bit by a mosquito. I mean, I know it's happened, but I don't really acknowledge it. I can't remember when it happened. And the only time that I would ever tell anyone about being bit by a mosquito is if it just happened and I'm slapping it off, or if it left a big welt and I have to show it to somebody. Otherwise, I'm not gonna acknowledge it happened. 3 seconds after it's done and I slap it away, it's forgotten about. And like I said, the only time I would acknowledge it is if it had some type of impact on me. I would tell a friend, hey, look at this big bump. I got bit by a mosquito. Or 10 seconds after it happened, we're getting hit by mosquitoes. I'm acknowledging them because they are bothering me, because they're impacting my day in some kind of way, especially if it's in the moment. That's literally what just happened. This product should not register on Intel's radar at all, but it has. Let's think about this. First of all, it's not just that Apple introduced the M1 series of Macs and their own processor, the M1, it's that they are dropping progressively processors from Intel from their Mac line. So it's kind of a double whammy for Intel. And the processing power and the battery life on these M1s is amazing. I actually just bought one of the M1 Macs and I have a review coming up here in just a couple of days. So make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss that. I have my own thoughts because I'm a Windows user that got a Mac. And I've already done 2 videos actually about the unboxing, kind of the use of it. Make sure you check those links in the description and at the end because I have my own thoughts. And they're not all rainbows and sunshine. But obviously, Intel is worried. So recently, Intel has a commercial where they took the Mac guy from old Apple videos and put it into their own commercial, kind of talking about why having an Intel-based laptop is better than a MacBook. Now, here's the thing. If the Mac was irrelevant to you, you would not make a commercial about it. Essentially what you're doing is you are advertising the competitor's product. Even though you're trying to show that yours is better, you are now bringing to the surface to people who may not even know it exists that there's a cool product out there. And this is always a mistake. And again, it shows that Intel is worried because no one spends money on a competitor that has no interest or no impact on their bottom line. Intel knows this is a big deal. So they're spending money on marketing to kind of suppress that excitement. Let's just be honest about what it is. You don't see Intel making commercials about small little OEMs that have processors that have nothing to do with their laptops at all, because there's no reason to. No one's buying them. If there's no threat, you don't acknowledge. And listen, Intel's already under a lot of pressure. AMD has kind of come up out of the last couple of years and started to eat their lunch in desktop processors. So with the new CEO coming in this past year, he has some things on his mind, and he also acknowledged Apple. The new CEO from Intel said, We have to deliver better products to the PC ecosystem than any possible thing that a lifestyle company in Cupertino makes. Basically, he's trying to say that Apple could make really great processors, Intel needs to make better ones. If they weren't already making better ones, that's not a comment you need to make. And as a new CEO, the competitor who really has never had a processor in this space before should never even be on your mind. But it's one of the first things he talked about. Again, Intel is worried, and they should be. The proof is in the fact that they spent money on a commercial. For many years, Intel ignored that Apple existed, and they could because they did so well in the overall desktop and laptop space. And they still are, by the way. It's not like all of a sudden they've lost a bunch of market share. But the reality is when you look at the performance of Apple, even in the mobile space, even during a pandemic, that's actually kind of scary. And now they're coming into your backyard. Yeah, I'd be a little bit worried too. Now, my own experience on this MacBook Air, as I've kind of talked a little bit about in my first two videos and will be coming my review, is that coming from the Windows side of thing, it isn't necessarily enough to bring me over. But I will say that the processing power and the battery life would be. Like the operating system, not so much, but the hardware is. And that's what Intel is interested in and what they're worried about. They obviously don't have any kind of control over Windows itself, but they do upon the processing power of their chip. Now, I'm able to edit all types of videos on my MacBook, but right now, and this is something that Intel should lean into if they're going to acknowledge Apple at all, it's not a gaming machine. And that's really the big gap that Apple will have to close if they really want to take over a larger share of the laptop market. Gaming is still super huge on computers, so in order for them to kind of get even more of the crowd in, they have to go after gaming. So a better GPU and support for video games is going to be absolutely at the top of their list if they really want to do that. If they don't, Intel has nothing to worry about, and they don't have to acknowledge Apple at all. But Apple is making a push. They are putting money behind it, and their processors are looking incredible. The next generation of this chip is already going to be mind-blowing. This generation, their first shot was so good that Intel had to take out a commercial. Their first product in this line made Intel take out a commercial. That says a lot. And listen, if you're an Intel fan, you should be frustrated at Intel. Again, don't acknowledge the mosquito. What are you doing? It's silly. But anyway, I did check out the new MacBook Air. And again, like I said, the review's coming, so hit subscribe. I'll leave those videos for you here. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Should Intel be scared? I'm not sure, but they certainly are. Peace and love.